Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series. My name is Ryan Duffy and I'm the director of the museum, and this week we're going to talk about one of the other early citizens that rose to prominence here in Batavia and was very influential in the growth of Batavia through the first half of the 19th century. So this week we're going to talk about Trumbull Cary, who is businessman, politician, and even landowner to a large extent, following in the wake of the Holland Land Company. So we're going to go through his life and accomplishments during his time here in Batavia and learn a little bit more about Trumbull Cary. So Trumbull Cary was born on August 11, 1787 in Mansfield, Connecticut, to Ebenezer and Sarah Trumbull Cary. Now he had an older brother named Ebenezer as well, who actually worked as a surveyor for Joseph Ellicott during the Great Survey, and would actually come and stay in Batavia once it was founded and work as a clerk, surveyor, and agent for the land company before becoming a merchant here in Batavia as well. So Trumbull would follow his older brother to Batavia and would arrive in 1805 at the age of 18, and he would work as a clerk for several different prominent businessmen, including James Brisbane and his brother Ebenezer Cary, before striking out on his own. And eventually he would become very successful and be one of the wealthiest people in Batavia. He would actually serve as an adjutant during the War of 1812 and would be one of Batavia's early postmasters, which was a very prominent position in early American history. In 1817, he would marry Margaret Brisbane, who was James's sister, and after pursuing her for quite a while, she only agreed to marry him after he promised that he would build her the most beautiful mansion in Batavia, which he actually would do. In that same year, he started construction on what would become a 24-room Greek colonial revival mansion that stood on the site of where the YMCA is today. And the Cary home would last well into the second half of the 20th century here before being torn down. And it was one of the most beautiful mansions. And for those of you going back in time, it was Pontillo's restaurant for a while, for those who remember Batavia some decades ago. Now, Trumbull Cary went on to serve many different prominent positions in the community and farther afield. In 1815, he was one of the founding members of St. James Episcopal Church and was also a warden and served other positions within the church. In 1822, he was one of the 3 petitioners sent to Albany to argue for the right for Batavia to become a village, which it actually would be the following year in 1823. And he would serve as the village's first treasurer. In 1829, he was one of the founding members of the first bank west of the Genesee River, the Bank of the Genesee, and was one of their major financiers. And did the same thing to bring the first railroad into Batavia, the Tonawanda Railroad, in 1833, as he was a major bankroller of that venture as well. And in 1843, he was one of the founding members of the Batavia Lyceum, which was a cultural organization meant to raise the cultural standards of Batavia and set up reading rooms and lecture halls to help cultivate the necessary cultural values that were prominent at the time in the relatively still small and new village of Batavia. Besides his local Batavia ventures, Trumbull Cary also had wider ambitions and actually was elected to the New York State Assembly in 1828, which he served on for a year. And then in 1830, he was elected to the New York State Senate, which he served for 4 years. He also was elected as the New York State Bank Commissioner in 1840 and served there until 1843. Now, in the mid-1830s, he started to get into land speculation, sort of as the Holland Land Company was starting to move out of the area. And in 1835, he and George Lay, another investor, purchased all the remaining lands available from the Holland Land Company in Chautauqua County for well over $900,000, and then proceeded to sell it. And this actually caused some controversy amongst who actually had ownership of the land. But Cary and Lay actually won the case. They were defended by William Seward, who would be the future Secretary of State under Lincoln and was responsible for buying Alaska for the United States. And he and Cary would be friends for the rest of their lives. Now, Cary would live in Batavia for the rest of his life, and his wife Margaret would pass away in 1863, and he would pass away on June 20th, 1869, and they're both buried in the historic Batavia Cemetery today. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series and learned a little bit more about Trumbull, Cary, one of our early prominent residents here in Batavia, and his importance to its growth. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up or subscribe, and check out the rest of the videos in the series as we're approaching 150. And if you like any of those, do the same. But we also have other content on the channel, including our guest speaker series, concerts, and newly recorded Java with Joe's, our morning presentation. So there's a lot of content on the channel now to check out. But the best way to learn more about anything that we share in these videos is to stop by the museum and see for yourself, as we can share even more stories and show you some of the artifacts up close and personal. And if you really do enjoy this content and want to support local history, the best way to do that is to become a member of the museum. And you can do that by going to our website, hollandlandoffice.com, and all the information's right there. It's a very inexpensive and easy way to support the museum, so we can make more content like this and have even more programming for the community in the future.